Well, I'm also very anxious to hear our speaker today, who drove in yesterday from Savannah, and long drive just to give the presentation to us. We have a 100-mile coastline, as everyone knows, and those of us who relocate to Georgia have to learn that this is actually a coastal state, and there's wonderful wildlife out there. I'm very anxious to hear more about the dolphins off the coast. We all see things from time to time on television, but now we can actually talk with somebody who actually gets out there and interacts with them on a nearly daily basis, I presume, or a lot more often than I do anyway. So today, Peach Hubbard is with us. She's the president of the Dolphin Project, which is an all-volunteer nonprofit research organization, and they're celebrating 20 years now of bottlenose dolphin research. TDP, the Dolphin Project, conducts monthly surveys on coastal inshore waters from Hilton Head to San Fernandina Beach. They do photography of the dorsal fins, recording behavior, relative abundance of the wild dolphins. She and her husband, Captain Roy, coordinate TDP's education outreach program, and we have some of our education staff here. Let's see. Participate in research surveys, dolphin rescues, serve on boards for the Clean Coast and the Coastal Estuaries Protection Association. They're active in the Georgia National Marine Educators Associations and numerous other environmental groups. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Peach Hubbard. Please welcome Peach to the Georgia Aquarium. And you all mic'd up.
I think so, yeah. Thank you. We are thrilled to be here tonight. I would also like to introduce a fellow board member, Cheryl Tilton, who joined me here today because Captain Hubbard couldn't make it. We would like to give you an overview of what we do in the Dolphin Project, starting with our research surveys, and then go into a little bit about our education outreach program and what we do for organizations and schools around the state. And so in talking about the Dolphin Project, we need to go back to 1987 when there was a massive die-off of dolphins here on the coast of Georgia and also from New Jersey through Florida. And at that time, they didn't really know what caused these hundreds of dolphins to wash up. But over time, they figured out it was a morbidity virus, which in human beings is measles. They don't know where it actually came from, and we probably never will. But this mass stranding event in the United States was the inspiration for the Dolphin Project. There was a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution named Bo Cutts who covered the event for Georgia. And he found out in doing the research for his report, there was no one in Georgia doing much of anything about the dolphins. So he got together scientists and volunteers and friends, and they formed the Dolphin Project. And our purpose is to collect information about the dolphins from, as Bruce said, from Hilton Head to the Florida-Georgia line. And we cover the inshore residential dolphins. We don't go offshore into the ocean. It would be much too hard to monitor those dolphins out there. And we go out on photo ID surveys. We schedule them for once a month from January through November. We used to do them quarterly. But with the influx of dangers coming to our coastline, with a lot more population coming in, and industry and pollution, we feel it's actually imperative that we monitor these dolphins a lot closer. So everyone that goes out onto our surveys has to go through training. It's not difficult. It's a lot of common sense of how to interact with the dolphins and that sort of thing. We don't touch the dolphins. We photograph them and write down the data. But we encourage our members to participate in as many surveys throughout the year as they can as their personal time commits. You're not obligated to do it every month. We know people have other lives. Membership is mandatory, and we have a special research permit that we have to go by with the U.S. government. The teams consist of skippers who provide clean, safe, comfortable boats, and they have a knowledge and experience of Georgia waters, which is imperative to know. We do get skippers coming in from Atlanta who are clueless about their tides and currents out there, and it can be dangerous. They need to have experience and know what they're doing out there to keep everyone safe, not just everybody on the boat, but the dolphins too. And I mean, this is a typical area that each skipper would have a separate chart to follow so that we don't overlap our data and skew the numbers. But as you see in here, let's see if this works. Here, it looks like a whole lot of water, but it's like a foot deep in here, and you go up to 25 feet, within a matter of feet of where your boat is. So you need to know the area that you're in. Let's see. So they need to know the tides because it can ruin your whole day, let alone the survey. And you've got to wait another 6 hours for the tide to come back in. And you hope you have plenty of water and some crackers and stuff on board, and you just have to sit and wait it out. And they have to know the weather. So we check with NOAA and other entities like that. We do not go out in bad weather at all. We keep our team safe. So hopefully we will never have to experience anything like that. They are also told and instructed how to approach the dolphin so that we don't scare them or put them in any danger. So we approach them very carefully and slowly. And there's a lot of other technical things that we go through with training as far as approaching dolphins. We also have assistant team leaders. New members to the Dolphin Project that want to go on surveys start out as assistant team leaders unless they're photographers or skippers. So they observe the dolphins and they assist the team leaders with anything they may need on board the boat. The team leader coordinates the team's logistics, and they supervise the survey within the marine mammal protection guidelines. We have to keep that distance of 50 yards from the dolphin in wide waters. Naturally, if you're in a small creek on the coast of Georgia, you can't keep a distance like that, but you just keep the dolphins safe and the team safe. And they coordinate the survey data. And this is a typical event chart that we use. We fill in the data on the top. And after each sighting, as you will see here, the photographer will take a photograph of that event, because the photographer is taking pictures of the dolphin, and then to end that sighting, they'll take a picture of the event sheet, and then the next sighting and the next sighting, and it goes on like that. And the surveys last from 9 to 4 on a Saturday with an hour for lunch break. And the lunch break could be on the beach, could be in a restaurant, could be on board the boat. It just depends on where you happen to be on your particular part of the survey. And the photo ID team leader is the same responsibilities as the traditional team leader, but their name is on that permit. The NOAA, National Fish and Wildlife Service. Hi, Herb. Herb is not one of our board members, too. He's one of your volunteers here. And so they are qualified to go up close and personal, as you can be, with the dolphins in the water. We can get within that 50-yard guideline with the Marine Mammal Protection Act and get closer to the dolphins so that we can get those better photographs of the dorsal fin on the dolphins. The photographers really got the hardest job. They need a 300 millimeter lens or larger, and they have to be very quick and yet be very patient, because dolphins do not hold still, especially out in the wild. And you never know where they're going to come up next. You keep following them here, and next thing you know, they're over there. And so it's very, very difficult. And the fin photos are what we need for our research survey. Now, this is a bad photo, obviously. It's blurry and is halfway under the water. The lights behind this one is difficult. And sometimes you can't help it, depending on the narrowness of the creek you're in. You can't always maneuver the boat where you need to be to get the best photos, but you do the best you can. Here's another blurry picture. Here's a good one. I mean, we love those, and we tell them apart by the dorsal fin. Every dolphin is categorized. As you see up in there, that's number 268, taken in April of '96, and that's the latitude and longitude, so that we know exactly where we see the dolphins, and then how many there are and all that sort of thing. Another great shot. You can really see those notches in there. That's another good shot. And even though there's water on the leading edge of this dorsal fin, it's an excellent shot. You can see all the markings on the side of the dorsal as well as on the back. We also record marine mammal violations, and we record them on paper and photograph them, and then turn it over to NOAA. And we have been successful in prosecuting some people for their violation. This guy, he's a charter captain, takes dolphin tours out with people, and I mean, he nearly ran this dolphin over. It was horrible. But he's still operating and he's under investigation right now. And then we have members who are on shore that put all this data into a database, the photographs and the research data, which then goes to the Mid-Atlantic Bottlenose Dolphin Catalog, and then that goes to the Ocean Biographic Information System, and all this is housed up at Duke University. And this is typical of how we input, and then it goes into their data. We send our data from our database into their database, and then it is sorted out and then compared to other dolphins in the area to see if they are indeed going from one area to the other, and you can follow their paths. In fact, this is a slide right off the internet that shows how we compare the dolphins left and right side, and then you can track on where this dolphin has been. And of course, the best thing about being part of the Dolphin Project is you get to be on the Georgia coast and enjoy the wonderful Georgia waters out there. There's nothing like it in the world. I could go on for an hour just about that. But it's really amazing out there. Every time you go out there, because of the tide and the currents and the changes and the weather and all that, it's like a different adventure every time you go out. So it's really wonderful. So now we will head a little bit, give you an idea of what we do with our education outreach program. We have the twofold mission of the research and then educating the public about the dolphins and the coast of Georgia, because it's amazing how little people know about our incredible coast. Even those who have lived there all their lives, a lot of them are clueless as to what's really out there. So we do our best to get the word out. And so this is the next part here is like a little Dolphin 101, like beginner class on dolphins to give the people an idea of what we're going to do. And we take it to like festivals and boat shows. We take it into classrooms. We go to Rotary clubs. We've been to the Parrot Head Club of Savannah. You know, anywhere that'll take us, we'll go and tell them about our dolphins. And this is at Coast Fest down in Brunswick, where we set up a booth and we have a PowerPoint version. It's like a condensed version of what you will see in just a moment that automatically runs and tells people about dolphins. And then we have this fin board game, which has photographs of dolphin fins. There are 6 dolphins represented on the board, 2 pictures of the fin taken at different times. And the object is to mash the buttons, as they say in the South, to mash the buttons and match up the fins, and then you hear the dolphin chattering if you're right. The kids love to play the game. Kids are a lot better at it than the adults seem to be. And here we're at a science fair in Savannah just a couple weeks ago. We set up our little program, and we love to get them while they're young. I mean, because they're so impressionable that you're getting to them. And so this is the beginning of our little PowerPoint that we bring out to organizations. It's a condensed version. And the Georgia coast is truly unique in that it is this curved coastline, and because of it, it's very shallow out there. It's called the Atlantic Bight. And bight is an old seaman's term, which means curvature. And the continental shelf is like 80 to 100 miles out there. So it's a very gradual, shallow area, unlike a lot of other coastlines which get deep really quick. That's one reason we don't have a lot of deep sea fishing. It's not real big off the coast of Georgia like it is in North Carolina or Florida, because you got to go 80 miles out to get those big fish. But it takes a lot of gas to get out there. Another reason our coastline is so unique are the 5 major rivers that feed our coastline. We're the only state in the United States that has these 5 major rivers. And it feeds the estuaries and makes our coast so unique. And as Bruce said, we've only got 100 miles between the South Carolina line and the Florida line. But in those 100 miles, we've got over 50 islands, and it makes it very unique. And we have these marshes and tides and rivers, and we've only got the 100 miles, but in those 100 miles we've got over 3,400 miles of tidal wetland areas. We've got more waterfront property in the coast of Georgia's 100 miles than they do in California, Oregon, and Washington State combined. And you need to know your way around there. You need a GPS or you're really going to get lost. We have 14 major barrier islands, 11 of which are only accessible by boat. And even though we've got over 50 islands out there, they're lumped in like groups of major barriers. And we've got these incredible beaches out there, and all of that sand is coming from the North Georgia mountains up here, and it's made of detritus and seashells and quartz from the North Georgia mountains. The tides are unique. We have the highest tides south of Cape Cod. They range from 6 to 10 feet. And you need to know when it's going down because you don't want to get stuck like those boats we saw before. The marshes are so unique. They are the birthing ground of so much life out there. And they're absolutely beautiful and fragile. As I say, they're the birthing ground of so many creatures out there, from shrimp and crab and otters and skates, oysters. It's amazing the life forms that come out of these marshes. It's truly unique. Now, I hope you're paying attention to what's up there because you're getting a test on it later. And of course, they're the birthing ground too of our Atlantic bottlenose dolphins. And it's amazing how many people who are natives to our coast still call them porpoise. There's a difference between a bottlenose dolphin and a porpoise. First difference is they're all in the family of whales, but they're about different as cats and dogs. They are whales with teeth rather than baleen, but there's a dolphin family and then there's the porpoise family. One of the major differences, you're not going to see a porpoise out in Georgia. They rarely come south of North Carolina. So we do not have porpoise in Georgia, no matter what a native may tell you. An obvious difference is the dolphin, as you notice, has a wave-shaped dorsal fin, whereas the porpoise has more of a triangular shark-shaped fin. And the porpoise does not, the common porpoise, does not have a rostrum like the bottlenose dolphin has. The rostrum is an extension of the dolphin's mouth. And hence, the old sailors gave it the name bottlenose because it kind of looks like that when you look sideways at them. And in this mouth, they have 80 to 100 very sharp teeth. And they are used for grabbing. They are not used for chewing. They're all the same size, pretty much. And you don't want to go sticking your hand in a dolphin's mouth because they will bite you. The dolphin. And here, we just love dolphins. They just are so cute, and they just smile so cute, but they don't. Dolphins do not smile. That is the shape of their jawline is like that so that the salt water drains out when they go grabbing onto their fish. But they look cute. But they do have attitudes, and they'll be smiling when they'll get really mad. So you just better off keeping your distance with a wild dolphin. And bottlenose dolphins are found in the temperate and tropic waters around the world, as depicted in the dark blue up here. And they date back to prehistoric times. They're back in the ages of the dinosaurs. They walked on land. And if you notice in the pectoral flipper, they have almost the same bone structure we do, except for an extra digit in there. And there's barely just a hint of where their pelvis and the legs would come out. Excuse me. I started driving up from Macon, and that pollen just got me. They're very intelligent animals. They're one of the few species on this planet that have mirrored self-recognition, where they can see themselves, they recognize themselves in mirrors. I know we all think our dogs can do that, but they can't. There are only 4 species, as I said, is human beings, the great apes, bottlenose dolphins, and elephants. The brain is another amazing thing with a dolphin in that it protects itself in order for it to sleep. They cannot go completely asleep because they need to be awake to breathe. So they can have the ability of shutting down half their brain at a time. So when we are out there, you often see dolphins swimming very close together like this. And that's because the inside half of their brain is sleeping as well as shutting down one eye to let it rest. And then they'll take turns and they'll switch to the other side. And they do that so that they're protecting each other from shark attacks. They do have excellent eyesight. They can see almost completely in front and behind them at the same time, see 2 different things at the same time and register them both in their brain. Now, my mother could see in front and back at the same time, but they never documented that with any research. So, but it's truly amazing how they'll watch you. You look in an eye of a dolphin as they're swimming by. It's like, God, you can see them thinking. It's amazing. The dolphins do not see in full the range of color that we do. They only see in blues and greens. Now, dolphins are mammals, and they need to breathe air. And they breathe through their blowhole, which is their nostril, but it's located on top of their head. And in order to breathe, they come up for air. In order to avoid drowning, they have a flap that closes. They can stay down for as long as 10 minutes, but they usually come up about every 2 minutes, unless you're trying to take their picture, and then you don't know where they're coming up. And dolphins can also blow bubble rings. When we showed this to little kids at school, they just love watching this. And so the dolphins, even from infancy, can blow these bubble rings, and they'll pass them back and forth, and they'll swim through them, and it's really amazing. So, let's go. There we go. And let's see if we got some sound here. Yeah. The blowhole is also where the sound comes out of with the dolphin. Dolphins do not have vocal cords. So they can make multiple sounds at the same time. They can synchronize them, or they can make them independent. So you can hear clicking sounds and whistle sounds. They use whistles to identify themselves to each other. The clicking sounds is with their echolocation. My husband and I have an eco tour business where we take people out to the barrier islands, and if we're lucky enough to see dolphins, we'll shut the boat down, and I have a hydrophone where we can put it over, and it's amazing all the sounds you hear. Of course, there are clicking shrimp and a lot of other things out there, but if we're in deep water, you're definitely hearing the dolphins. Okay, that's enough. There we go. The echolocation of the dolphin is really amazing too. They can determine things that are far away. They can locate things that are buried in the sand, their prey, and they can locate predators coming their way through their echolocation. They have this fatty area on top of the front of their head called the melon. And the echolocation are these sounds that come out through the blowhole, and they are directed by that melon towards an object. And then the sound bounces off the object, comes back to the dolphin in a fatty area in the jaw, and then goes into the ears and into the brain. And they can actually see, like as if you were looking at an ultrasound picture of a baby in a womb. That's how a dolphin sees what may be buried a foot beneath the sand. It's really amazing. I don't know how they figure all that out, but you have to ask Dr. Bossert about that. So, let's see. Come on. There we go. They have outstanding hearing, and they can hear 10 times better than we do, but they rely more on their echolocation for sensitivities towards noises and that sort of thing. You will notice that the ears are not external like ours, and that's to keep them very hydrodynamic while they're swimming. Their skin is sloughed off every 2 hours, and this also helps keep them hydrodynamic. Often if you do see a dolphin with a lot of lesions or barnacles or something that may be on it, that dolphin's obviously very sick. It also keeps them where they can achieve great heights and great speeds. They're usually, in the inshore waters, they're usually doing about 3 to 7 miles an hour, and they can obviously get much faster speed out in deeper waters. And off the coast of Georgia, they have several different feeding techniques that they use. They use the crater feeding, where they're using the echolocation to get their prey. And I don't know if you can hear that. He's gone all the way up to his eyeball down there. He's no digging, and he came out happy. He got that little shrimp that was buried down in there. Dolphins also will circle a school of fish and then take turns going in and grabbing and eating the fish like that. They also have a whacking technique where they use their powerful flukes to whack the fish, or they will whack the water near the fish, which then creates vibrations in the water, and that will stun the fish, and then they'll go and grab the fish that way. Mudding is a technique used only in lower South Carolina and Georgia, and it's only here because of our unique shoreline with our mud bottoms, muddy, sandy bottoms, and our low tide. You'll see this a lot at low tide, and they beach themselves up on the mud to grab the fish that they scare up on there. We were lucky, we were out off the end of Wausau Island and saw this mother trying to teach her young how to do the mudding technique. Now you'll notice her dorsal fin is pretty well mangled by boat propellers, but she had scared some fish up onto the mud, and it was a little awkward for her in this particular location because a lot of times the mud may be a little more on a slant, and it was pretty flat in here. So she's up there, and if you can see, she does have the fish in her mouth, but normally they would just slide right back down. Well, she couldn't slide backwards, so she had a wiggle, and she just kept turning around, and she made this trench of mud back into the water, and she was showing her little one how to do it, and that's her baby up front, and that's Mama behind. And we saw her do this like 6 times, and there were just trenches all up and down the mud from Mama doing that. But it was, I mean, people have lived out there all their lives and never see them do this, so we were very fortunate. Dolphins reach maturity between 7 and 13 years of age, depending on their gender, and they give birth every 2 to 3 years after a gestation of about a year. They tend to they can give birth throughout the year. There's no specific time, but there seems to be more prominence of it in the springtime, and more prominence in the springtime of a lot of rowdy behavior out there too. This is a dolphin giving birth, and you will notice on the left side of the screen there will be another female dolphin that comes to push that baby up for his first breath of air to help it. Some people refer to that other dolphin as an auntie or a midwife, but she's there giving birth. And they always come out tail first so that they don't drown as they're coming out. And it's usually just one dolphin at a time being born. And up here in the upper right left corner, if you see that baby, she's got a little scrunchy little face and white lines on her. She's darker than Mama. That's from being compressed inside Mama. And after just like a couple weeks, those white lines will disappear, and she will get lighter like Mama. Our inshore dolphins are much lighter than the offshore dolphins, and they tend to be a little bit smaller. The offshore dolphins are very dark. They're almost black. Where our inshore dolphins, I mean, some people even think that they're pink. They're so light colored, but they're very, very pale gray. The calves can be 30 to 36 inches at birth, and they weigh 40 pounds. But on the rich mother's milk, they will double in size in just a matter of weeks. The female calves tend to stay longer with the mamas than the boys do. The boys they're boys. You just go on. The boys tend to form alliances with other young males, and I got some pictures at the end of this piece here that shows two dolphins hanging out. We can call them Pete and Repeat. They live off the end of Oahu Island, and they form alliances like that, whereas it seems to be a more maternal family unit. You rarely see the males, just maybe one male hanging out with a family unit of pod of dolphins inshore. It's the mothers and her offspring or another female and like that. The dolphins often gather in groups called pods in inshore, whereas offshore you'll see pods getting into bigger groups called herds. Now you got to be pretty far out there off the coast of Georgia to see something like this. But, the only natural threat to a dolphin is a shark. The sharks will bite and kill dolphins. If it's a one-on-one situation, it's a losing situation for a dolphin. But if you get a pod of dolphins against a shark that's attacking them, they can kill that shark. And it's not by biting so much, it is by ramming it like that and destroying internal organs, and they'll kill it that way. The worst threat for dolphins is the human threat. This is critical propeller damage of a dolphin, excuse me. And then this is also propeller damage. This dolphin lives off the coast, between the coast of Georgia and Ossabaw Island off the Ogeechee River. And it's not critical by any means. That is actually healing, but it's going to be severely scarred forever. Dolphins do get caught in fishing nets as part of the bycatch, and like I say, they have to come up every 2 to 10 minutes to breathe, and the fishing nets can stay down for an hour or two or more, so they drown down there, as do sea turtles and anything else that might get caught in those nets. And by law in Georgia and the United States, there are regulations against the kind of nets that to use so that this doesn't happen to dolphins and turtles. But I think that they say the numbers are going down as far as dolphins being caught, but I also think that they never really reported how many were being caught in the first place, so that number is kind of wacky. The United States has a Marine Mammal Protection Act, which was established back in 1972. Do not hunt and feed or track the dolphin in any way, shape, or form. A lot of times when we do this for the little kids in schools, they always put up their hand, they want to tell us stories about how they went out and fed the dolphins and stuff like that. And one little girl was saying how her daddy said that she could invite some of her friends on a boat, and he got this bucket of fish, and they went out there, and he was feeding the fish to the dolphin, so the dolphin would come to the boat. And it was after our program, and I said, well, now you can go tell him that that's not the good thing to do. She said, well, it wasn't my idea. And I was like, okay, but pass on the word. It's okay. It's funny with those kids. Here's another skipper that we saw feeding a dolphin. And obviously, this dolphin has been fed a lot by him, because that dolphin was begging, it was jumping for its food, and he's feeding him frozen fish. And dolphin, like all mammals, need fresh water to survive, and they don't get it from frozen fish. They has to, especially the wild dolphin, they need live, fresh food to survive. So we got him in trouble. He got himself in trouble when we reported him. So, here's another situation: 2 girls in a kayak with a 11-foot long dolphin with 100 sharp teeth, and it's like, what are you thinking? They don't even have life jackets on. Everything wrong with that. And they can get diseases that are human diseases, and there's so much antibiotics and pharmaceuticals and just human waste. The pharmaceuticals and the antibiotics go out of our body the same way they came in, and it is polluting the water out there. And because of all that, you can't treat dolphins as well because they're becoming immune to antibiotics themselves. But they get all these diseases, the heart diseases and meningitis, gastritis. It's very difficult to treat dolphin for some of these things. Where we live, just Savannah, Richmond Hill area, our dolphin are looking pretty good out there. But down in Brunswick, where they've had some industry which has been dumping chemicals from paint plants and chemical plants into the Turtle River, the Altamaha River basin there, the dolphin do look like this. It's really sad. And in the state of Georgia, the Georgia DNR has this program called Know the Connection, and that's what we try to get across, especially to the kids, to understand how you are connected to your environment, and the environment is connected to you, and you have a responsibility to help protect it and not cause it damage. My husband and I are also involved in a group called Clean Coast, where we go out and we clean up the barrier islands. And this is just typical of what you see on these barrier islands where nobody lives. And all this stuff comes up down the river, it goes down the storm drains, and it's not just coming from Savannah, it's coming from upland too. And it's amazing what we catch. And we were just on Cumberland this past Saturday, and there were 20 of us, and we probably picked up in about a 4 to 5 hour period almost 2 tons of trash off of Cumberland. It was a heck of a lot of work, but we do have fun too. So it is amazing what you find out there too. I mean, I probably picked up 3 dozen toothbrushes and balloons, and it's just amazing what the stuff is out there. And it's not from boats, it's coming from inland. Plastic is a huge problem, and I know hopefully the planet is starting to go green. But as plastic floats in the salt water and the UV rays from the sun hits it, it breaks down into these little pellets, 1/4-inch pellets called nurdles. And not just the pellets, but seabirds in particular, they eat these little pieces of plastic, and you can see from the remains of that bird there, it has starved to death because it's eaten all this plastic. I mean, there's cigarette lighters in there, there's bottle tops, and all this plastic stuff in there, and eating it feels full, but there's no nutrients in that whatsoever, obviously, and it has died of starvation. And the problem too is some bird species are becoming extinct because they're feeding this plastic to their young, and then they don't even reach maturity at that point. Here's another problem with debris, man-made debris affecting our dolphin. We were involved in a rescue of a very young dolphin. It was barely 2 years old. It was sighted about a year ago. We rescued it in July, so a year before that, this dolphin was sighted with something choking it like this, but then they lost sight of it again. This was off the coast of Savannah near the Wilmington River, and then they found it again. We organized the dolphin rescue team and came together, and we captured the dolphin, and it turned out to be this rubber band. Now, it may be from a crab trap or a gasket from a boat. We're not sure what it really is, but it had, by that time the dolphin was a year older, and it was just strangling the dolphin and embedding itself. The gasket was embedding it into the dolphin's flesh. So Dr. Terry Norton from the Jekyll Sea Turtle Hospital was there, and he cut the gasket off. And of course, that little dolphin will be severely scarred. My husband and I and a fellow from DNR and UGA were in charge of keeping track of this little baby dolphin while the rest of the team was getting their act together. So for 7 hours on a July morning, we were watching this dolphin, and we were in the Herb River, and at that time, I just kind of named it Herb, but then when we got it and captured it, they discovered it was a female, so I couldn't name it Herb anymore. But by then, we were in the Wilmington River, so now she's Wilma. So we keep track of Wilma when we go out there. And we put a tag on her, and she has been seen since, and she's doing fine, and she's mingling with other dolphins. And that was the other thing that was very unusual, because she was all by herself. So we were thinking maybe something happened to Mama Dolphin, because that's very unusual for just such a very young female to be so alone like that. And we were able to let it go, and like I say, she's doing fine. She's frolicking out there, and we're just keeping track of Wilma when we go out on our surveys. Balloons are a huge problem. Every time there's a mass release of balloons for a celebration, I cringe because I know we'll be picking up balloons on our islands forever. So, and the problem with balloons is like, this is typical, you see them floating like this, and like sea turtles who are terrible eyesight, they'll see this floating along and they're just like the jellyfish. So they eat this and they get caught in their throat and they die. And of course, dolphins have been known to eat jellyfish too. The little ones that we have off our coast are not, they don't sting or anything, so they're easy to swallow. But you see this, and that's the end of the sea turtle and the dolphin. So we're trying to tell the kids and get them while they're young. Tell the kids, hey, have the party, have the balloons, but when you're done, pop them and put them in the trash. Strandings have been taking place on this earth probably since the beginning of time, and there's a lot of different reasons for strandings with dolphins and whales and other marine mammals like that. If it's an individual dolphin or a small pod, it could be that one dolphin was sick or dying or just old age, or maybe it was, hard to tell what it may have been, but they're very close knit when they're a little pod like that. And if the one sick one washes up on the beach, they all follow. So you've got to remove the sick one and push the other ones out there, and they'll pick a new leader if needed and go off, as long as they don't have to worry about the one that is ill or dying. But then there's problems with mass strandings, like the one we had back in 1987. And they can be caused from a lot of different things, and we're still learning about many of it. Infectious diseases can be starvation. Maybe their food source has been fished out, and that's happened in many places in the world. Pollution, as I discussed, it could be oil spills and chemical situations like that. Trauma from ship strikes. Sound can be from sonar, the Navy ships, supposedly they're working on it. HABs, that's a very big problem, red tide in Florida, and it's coming this way to Georgia. So we have to be on alert for that situation. Weather and oceanographic events, you've got earthquakes, make a lot of sound underneath, and that just messes up the dolphins' echolocation, and they'll beach themselves. It blows out their eardrums, and can't tell which way to go. Ingestion of marine debris, and this thing's stuck. So why do we care about dolphins? I mean, there's a lot of reasons to care, not just because they have this cute smile and others, they're just so cute, but they're like the canary in the minefield. If there's something wrong with the dolphin, there's something wrong with the water out there. There's something that's going to come back and affect us too. We need to protect the dolphin not just because they're an amazing, incredible, intelligent species that we're just beginning to learn all there is about them, but because they're part of our environment, and it's all connected, know the connection, and we need to protect it all. And that's Pete and Repeat, who live off of Wausau. They're just two cute guys out there. And I'd like to thank everyone who helped put this together, including Dr. Greg Bossert, who I don't think is here. And that's just kind of a synopsis of what we do with the Dolphin Project. We're an all-volunteer group. We are not funded by the government or anyone else. It's all self-funding with our memberships and our survey dues, a nonprofit organization, and this July we are celebrating our 20th year of dolphin survey research, and we're having a big party, and you're all welcome to come to Savannah. So that's about it. Thank you. We always hand out brochures to kids and anybody that's interested. We've got some up here on the Dolphin Project, on Queen Coast, and our little brochure that we put together about the difference between dolphin and porpoise, so let people know. So, thank you.
Time for questions?
Sure. You're all so smart now. This is Dolphin 101, is intermediate dolphin. Yes, ma'am. The Navy supposedly is working on it, but I don't know. They also, in one hand, they say they're working on it, trying to see how they can minimize it and not go into the like off the coast of Georgia, the birthing ground for the right whale. And yet they want to do some sonar testing just over the Florida line. And we're going, duh, you can't do that. So, you know, there's lobbyists working on that part, environmentalists trying to get that stopped. But a lot of times they will avoid areas where they know there's whales and that sort of thing in the area. So they know the migratory path, just like the ships do. And in many cases, even in the United States by law, that ships have been told you have to stay out of this area at this time of year and that sort of thing. Like up in New York area where there's a lot of shipping and that sort of thing. So they're working on it. Not fast enough, but they are. Yeah.
Do you have an idea of the population size either locally around there or even
No, it's very hard to say. We're going to try and crunch those numbers because we'd like to let the public know all that we've done, like for when we do our anniversary sort of thing. But we've got probably close to 2,000 different dolphins are recorded in the OBIS CMAP thing. But we're a few years behind in inputting all this. It takes a lot of, personal time to input all this information. So, we're working on it, and we'll see. Because some of them are sort of migratory, so we do get offshore dolphins coming in to feed too, and that's kind of skews information. Now, when I say they're inshore residential, you'll have like Tybee, Wausau area, and the dolphins tend to stay in there, and then you've got Ossabaw, St. Catharines area, and the dolphins tend to stay in that area, and then further down. And they tend not to intermingle a lot, but there is some back and forth going. So it's a little hard to keep track of all that, real fine-tune it. So, okay. Oh, all the time. All the time. Whether it's on the boat as part of a survey team or even inputting data or doing helping with the board, and there's all kinds of volunteer opportunities. During the outreach program, when we do like Coast Fest and Earth Day and stuff like that, going out there and trying to reach the public and letting them know about not just the Dolphin Project, but about the critical dangers to our coast. We've got a lot of issues coming to our coast with like wastewater treatment plants wanting to dump it in the marsh, and we're fighting that right now. And I mean, if the EPD lets that happen, then say goodbye to the coast of Georgia. So we've got such a gorgeous, rich, nutrient-rich coastline, but I mean, we've got 1/3 of the marshes on this coast, but we're doing 100% of the work because the other 2/3 are already damaged by pollution, thanks to human beings. And we're trying to protect our coastline, and there's a lot of efforts going on now, and we're trying to reach EPD here in Atlanta and say, let's tighten up our laws here, and we're not just all tree huggers out there going, yeah, don't touch my ground. But it's imperative because, like I say, it is the birthing ground pretty much for the North Atlantic Ocean now, because the other 2/3 of the marshes that used to be birthing grounds aren't there anymore. I mean, Chesapeake Bay is like a mess. And they're just pumping millions of dollars in there, and they're just not making any headway. So we don't want that to happen to Georgia. So, no. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.